Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. Today, we're discussing chapters 9 through 11.
Previously on Legendborn. Previously on Wizard Team. Previously on Legendborn. Whatever. So Bree starts her investigation into the magic she's been seeing around school. She meets her peer mentor, Nick Davies. He a cutie. He attracts her. What is that one? It's like, my boy is white and buys me lobster or something like that. Buys a lobster.
Oh, I got a white boy on my roster. He buy me pizza and lobster.
Yeah. She meets Nick, and while they are getting to know each other, and she's calling him a babysitter, and he is, reading her, giving her the business, she spots some more magic and says, you know what? Peace, and runs after the magic. And then Nick is running after her. And I, in my brain, am just seeing the funniest fucking scene in my life of a black girl booking it and a white man chasing her, screaming her name, and people being like, huh? Because they cannot see the magic. She almost gets herself killed by a hellhound, but Nick saves her. She realizes that Nick is also a part of this whole order magic nonsense. Nick takes her to a secret place to get healed. We meet William. We don't get to know him too much, but we will get to know William a lot more in the future, and I'm very excited about it. So she gets some info from Nick, learns more about the Legendborn, the Shadowborn, which are the demons that she's seeing. She's seen Cell and Tor fight, and now Nick fight, and almost killed her. Ether, etc., etc., etc. She's got a little bit more understanding of what's happening on the UNC Chapel Hill campus. Cell comes in to mesmer her, but Bree bites her lip, and then remembers everything the next day. Once she goes to brush her teeth, the pain clears her head. She remembers everything. She decides that she's gonna pull a Nick Davis and stalk him in his own classroom, confront him. He's like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want nothing to do with this. You gonna need to get yourself a new peer mentor. Nice to know ya. Wish you the best. Goodbye. And then she decides that she's gonna go find the lodge where this order resides and drag Nick into her mess, kicking and screaming. And I just gotta say, Bree Matthews, we always say, have the confidence of a mediocre white man. The confidence. Bree said, nah, I'm gonna have the audacity of a mediocre white man.
And you know what? I love it. It's really funny because, as I'm reading it, I don't know. I feel like if this was another character, I might be like, bro, what, no. But in this case, I'm just like,
I have
you got this, girl.
Ron Burgundy Anchorman. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed, right? But I'm a little bit mad.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is great.
I'm like,
it's not great, but it's great.
What are you doing, sweetheart?
But at the end of the day, she's inconveniencing white people, which is funny to me. And I think that's why. And I think that's the reason why.
You know what I mean? It's the dynamic of it.
From yes, are you being brash and doing things you should not be doing? Yes, and I'm concerned about that. But if at the end of the day, people who are most inconvenienced by your actions are bougie white folk, as you will.
It's like that one time.
The game is the game.
Sorry to bring up Wizard Boy and stuff, but it's that one time when Umbridge put Snape in his place, and you were like, hate the messenger, love the message. It's that. Bree,
you can go harder if you like. I will be in attendance if you want to go harder, because I will be here drinking that up.
I just love her. I'm like, none of this makes any sense. I just feel like she needs to, especially these chapters, it's like you need way more information going into what you're about to go into. Oh my God, you're just coming in knowing nothing.
And the fact that it hits her multiple times, she's like, I actually need more information. Nah, you don't think?
And she can't even be mad at anyone but herself because she didn't take the time to really like she knows 10 sight words. She found 10 sight words for the order and was like, all right, I'm in here.
And then put them on a piece of paper and pass them to Nick. And Nick was like, this girl
She's
gonna
like,
try to get me
I
killed
got this.
over here.
So, you know.
And touches the Aether. And then touches.
Due diligence done. So I wrote a note. Why did she not stake out the place for a little bit? She, like, literally goes to the lodge, finds the lodge. She figures out where the lodge is and knocks on the front door and is like, Nick Davis sent me. Bitch. You don't know if they like him. You don't know if they're his arch nemesis. You don't know what that relationship is. Like, you could have said Nick Davis sent me and they would have been like, bet.
Boom.
To the dungeons. Like, you have no
idea.
Just
snatched her out the door. Just snatched.
Right, like.
Right.
And when nobody know where she was. She's beefing with Alice, so Alice don't know where she is.
Right.
One person on her supposed to...
By her lonely.
But I guess she does in terms of, like, using Nick. Like, she was there the night before.
But she also heard...
With Nick. And she doesn't know she was there specifically, but like, she... You know what I mean? Like, clearly... She doesn't know how, like, big he is, but I think she knows that his name will at least get her.
But she also should have figured out, like, that there is tension with Nick and these people.
Right.
Because she
like,
heard those, like, she heard that conversation with them and Cell. They were definitely beefing. She heard Will being like, y'all, I know this is a long-standing thing, but, like, you gonna have to mesmer this girl twice.
And Nick specifically told her to stay away from Cell and that they couldn't be seen on campus together.
That say, like, okay, Nick definitely knows these people and is involved in some way, but does not give you the confidence to say that, like, using his name is going to get me in the door in a good way. So my thing is, like, she doesn't know, like, find the lodge, cool. And then do a stakeout. Like, see who's coming and going. See.
That's what she said she was gonna do. Remember, in her brain, she was saying, "Oh, I'm here to do a stakeout. I'm wearing my Star Wars tee and my jeans."
But she knocked on the door, and I said, "I don't think."
But I don't like. But how is it a stakeout?
She knows what a stakeout is.
I don't think that
I don't think she knows what that means.
I don't think that she worships at the altar that is Dick Wolf. Like,
right.
Briscoe and Green would never.
She is
watch you a couple seasons of Law and Order to see how this goes. Some FBI, some Chicago PD. Like, Dick Wolf has given you the blueprint.
Shoot, even Psych has stakeouts. Girl.
And even on Psych with his crazy ass, he had a sidekick right next to him. Who was just as crazy, but also a little bit more put together.
All of these are good.
Use the media you have to learn the lesson. Is what I'm trying to say. He had
a father who, as involved as Bree's father is with her, he had an involved father that he would go to from time to time when he needed a little help. Bree, come on, Bree.
All of these are good points, but I continue to stand.
So this is the other thing. Okay, so Bree knocks on the door, is like, just word for word. She said, "I'm Bree Matthews." Gave her full government. Didn't even make up a fake name. Nick told me to meet him here. Okay, girl. So chapter 9 starts with several emotions cartwheel across the girl's face. Alarm, doubt, and curiously hope. Nick told you to meet him here tonight? Yes, I add with an uncertain frown and waver to my mouth. Is that okay? He said it would be. She squeaks and says, yes, of course it's okay. If Nick said it, oh my gosh, yes, she's squirming. And then Bree says, I feel a little guilt mixed with triumph. A little guilt. I have put this girl through an emotional roller coaster.
But, like,
I feel like this feels like...
And I can see it on her face. I can see all of the emotions scrolling through this strange girl's face.
Look,
her mama died, and these people might have something to do with it.
This honestly feels like if someone, like, someone knows through someone. So, like, friend of the show, Eliana, was talking about how when she's working production for one of her shows that she's working on, that there was someone else who started working there and was name dropping Beyonce's former dance captain and stuff she was talking about, like, that he had learned from her about what happened behind the scenes with Beyonce. And I'm like, Beyonce makes people sign NDAs.
Mm-hmm.
that Beyonce? And it seems kind of like when you find out some information and you're like, oh, I'm going to use the name of this person to get into where they can get into. Except for Bree's doing it for her own reason. But you know what I mean? It almost feels like when someone is like, oh, I'm trying to get in this club. I had this one friend who told me I need to talk to, like, he talks to Sal when he comes to this club. So I'm going to try to talk to Sal. And I'm going to use his name to get in.
Right. She's very, but it's like, it's also kind of funny because, again, she knows nothing. So she just, like, name drops Nick, and she thinks they're going to be like, oh, cool, yeah, we know Nick.
Know who
Meanwhile, Nick is, like, the guy, and she has no idea. So she's, like, giving this girl,
the
like,
only other name she knows is, like, possibly Tor and Sal. And if you ask for any of them, you're going to get out of here.
It's not going to work.
So... What was your backup plan? That's my question is, what is your backup plan? If that didn't work, what would you do?
She didn't have one. That's the thing. She comes in, she is figuring it out as she goes along. She has no plan. The plan is
instead of taking inspiration from Law and Order, I'm gonna take inspiration from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Improv.
Or Doctor Who. Or Doctor Who. Right,
just improv. Just bullshit my way through. It'll be okay. So this girl, her name is Sar, says, you're a little early, there's no one really here yet, and I can't let you into the great room without your sponsor, but we have a salon for guests. You can wait there while I call Nick. She is super lucky that this girl is so excited that she's going to call Nick. Because Bree says, Nick told me to meet him here. This girl could have been like, you can wait in the salon until Nick arrives, in which case Nick doesn't arrive, and then it'll be like, bitch, what's going on?
But Bree could also call Nick.
Who is you?
Bree could be like, I'm at your house. I got in. You better come get me.
It's not even Bree who's calling him. It's
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that's the only alternative is to just be like, you know what? I'm with your people.
So she like assumes that Nick is Bree's sponsor. Bree is like, a sponsor? In her brain, what is a sponsor? What? And she's like, oh, sounds great, cool.
Questions? So she had you actually staked out the place.
Audacity and luck.
Also, like, something is obviously happening, because she goes tonight. Like, she's like, something is happening tonight. Bree doesn't know, you know what I mean? Like, it's luck and bad luck at the same time, because like she's literally,
it's not even luck.
Herself.
That's not even the word. It's just
it's not the right.
Like maybe
a convergence of events.
I don't know. It's like it's a more neutral word for that. Where it's just like, although kismet also denotes like positive, but
yeah, because she's actually thrown herself like little mistake out. I don't know what that word means. Has thrown her like the biggest spotlight on herself that she possibly could.
Yep.
Like, this is not like, oh, Nick is thinking of sponsoring me, or we're talking about sponsorship, so he wanted to give me a tour, or something. Like, this is not any of that. This is like...
And she's showing up on the biggest night. For, like, it's like, she don't know any of that. She does not have any idea what she's walking... Like, nothing. Just no clues.
So, she goes into the salon, or she walks into this house, and is being taken to the salon. And it's a super grand, she says house. It's a mansion.
It's a castle.
It's a manor.
It's
a nice, expensive lodge.
It's a country lodge in the way that, like,
but it looks
Queen
like
of
a castle
England
on
calls her house. What does she call that? Balmoral Cottage. And you're like, bitch, what kind of cottage has 50 rooms? That's not a cottage.
Right.
I have a cottage.
That's not a cottage. I would not name a cottage. A cottage has to be a cottage to be named a cottage.
Right.
And 50 rooms is not does not equal cottage.
No. Stables, all sorts of shit. Like, that is not
that is not
I don't think you know what that word means, right? So this manor house, like, it's a manor. It's
just their summer. It's their yearly chalet. Like, you know?
it's a lodge estate. It's an estate lodge, right? She's like looking. There's 3-story foyer, glamorous staircases. There's marble and iron. It's got everything. It's house hunters would love it. Someone with a $2,000 budget who works on their dad's
the
vegan.
Real Housewives would go on a vacation there. They would
exactly.
Stay.
You ever seen like the house hunters? They're like, I'm a vegan farmer at a co-op and my budget is $2.2 million. Fuck.
Like, oh yeah,
Okay.
so my family's into like medicine.
My husband is a stylist, and our budget is
Oh,
$3 million.
pharmaceuticals. Like, but we make them. Oh.
So she
You say
goes.
you make them, you mean your company, there's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's put in the salon, and she sees these two prominent portraits, and this is important. They're of Nick's father and ancestor. So Dr. Martin Davis, 1995, I think is the date with him. And then Jonathan Davis, 1795. And I want to put this on record now, early. This is what, episode 3, episode 4, whatever episode we are on. Fuck Jonathan Davis and everything about that man. Fuck the horse he rode in on. Fuck his mama. Fuck his daddy.
Martin too.
All of
too,
it.
but
Look,
like
everybody who is in
his
this
whole crew,
freaking order,
Yeah, their whole line, everybody.
Everybody's family legacies
could die.
Look.
A pox on the leg. A pox on your DNA, bitch.
Yeah, no, because then
Like-
they also go in, like, she sees the, like, founders or whatever, and it's, like, plantation owners and lieutenant governors, and, like, these
So this
folks
is
are...
so she sees this bronze plate beneath this this illustration of 5 men in long aristocratic waistcoats and puffy sleeves, and it says pioneers from Great Britain, the founders of the Orders of the Round Table's Carolina Colonial Chapter, were Stephen Morgan, Thomas Johnston, Malcolm MacDonald, Charles Henry, and Jonathan Davis, circa 1792. Every single person in that picture. I wish them the worst. I mean, they're dead, but I wish I wish
no,
hell could get
100%,
hotter.
like-
You
We're
know
spoiler
what?
heavy. We're
If
spoiler
I
heavy.
could-
Some spirits come back, and some spirits need to get squashed out of existence, and that's
Right.
just how it is.
And that's how it. But also, if I could, I would send Hurricane Hillary's ass down to hell. So they think they're getting a reprieve from the heat, but they actually get in a fucking hurricane. And then
Then they
after
get
the
swept
hurricane,
up.
they get swept up. And then they burn some more. Fuck them. I'm just saying. I don't know if you understand.
Can you
I'm just trying to
imagine a
set the scene.
hellfire hurricane? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Nice.
I can, and I wish it on these people.
No, yeah, 100%. I just said yikes because, like, the visual, but they deserve.
But if anyone deserved it, these 5 motherfuckers.
in their ilk. They're all
ilk,
their
right, 'cause
peers.
they're the Carolina Colonial Chapter. I love the colonial add-on too. They're not the Carolina chapter. The Carolina colonies. This is
Although by that point,
it's
They're
1792.
still,
They're,
they're still
but
Carolina.
they're still like, I know the. Oh yeah, no, they're still. So I was like, I don't know.
no, the
All the
Carolinas. I
information
think
is-
are they states at this point? I
They
don't
were
know.
a part of the original colonies.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's part of the
the
United
borders
States.
were
at
kind
this
of
point,
nebulous,
but
but
like,
they were.
yeah.
Yeah.
But still, fuck them. That's the point of the matter. The important part. Okay, so
Like, if we talk about it from the indigenous lens, it's a whole different discussion, and I'm
Yeah,
with
there's
it.
a lot
But we're
of-
not there right there.
we're not there yet. The point though, fuck 'em.
Yeah.
But also, obviously, Nick is very important. Is a very important like figure in the order. Obviously, the order cares a lot about lineage and the lines and these names, right? And Nick Davis has a name that is important and well respected.
And it's also, like,
or not well respected, but like I don't know if it's well respected, but like important.
Definitely important. And it's also like one of those things too is like she met Nick yesterday. So first of all, this is like one of the things that kind of trips me out about this book, but especially the beginning is like this is only her 3rd day out here. Like
Yeah.
It's moving like a
Just-
movie.
like and
It's
so
moving like when movies do. You'd be like, is this all the same day?
right, this is all the same
Yeah.
day, like literally. So like
she didn't even sit on this for a week,
just
get
met
comfortable
Nick,
in her
but it's-
classes. Nothing.
So I think also though like it's also a like demonstration or just like it's showing how like these folks they can trace their like lineage and their generations back at least 200 plus years, probably more, right? But like they're in Carolina, so they're starting there. They're not starting in Britain or whatever. But like that also I think is an important, or I know is an important part of like this story is the like lineages and like who can trace their lineage back and whose is more obscured and for what reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, for her to like be confronted with that immediately, and like this whole like kind of section, I mean the whole book obviously, but like this section in particular, I think comes back to that a lot.
Yeah. So then finally, so she's sitting here, she's figuring out all this stuff, and then Nick, like about 10 minutes later, so this I'm just thinking about Nick getting this call, like lounging in his dorm room, kind of being like, God, that girl was stressful.
And he's walking over to cricket
Maybe
club.
he's probably trying to file paperwork to get the change to happen. He's like, oh, let me go on and get this knocked out so I can get a new mentor. Sad that didn't work out, but we're cool.
Like, ooh, that girl was stressful, but I'm so glad that like we've come to a resolution. She'll do her thing, I'll do mine. I gotta, refocus, get back to ignoring that this place that these things exist. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm gonna go get a smoothie, just like minding his business, and he
regular
gets this
college
phone call.
college things.
He is doing exactly the thing that we tell white people to do: is mind their business.
Minding.
And here Bree comes, being like, nah, not this time, player. Not for you.
And you can just see him like hang up the phone and book it. I don't know where he's at on that campus, but the campus is big.
I'm
and
just
he is
imagining
sprinting.
because Tracy comps him as to like Captain America. I'm just like imagining like just sprinting, when they're sprinting across
on your left,
across
bitch,
Wakanda.
on your left.
Yes. No, I'm never going to be able to read this book again without laughing at these chapters.
I just have to tell you guys, like, spoiler for the episode or whatever, Nick is my MVP because of the shit that he was put through. I don't care what happens in the other 2 chapters, even though I still think, but like, and white men, whatever.
No, sometimes.
We're not, but sometimes I just be like, he was minding his business.
He was
minding
He was
100% minding his business. This was not on
He
his,
was literally
his
trying
plans
to
for
be
his
a
second
peer
year
mentor.
of early college.
Said I'll do something nice. You know what I mean? Keep the dean on my good side. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
So he comes sprinting in, looking super angry as he should, and Bree decides, ooh, we done struck a nerve. Like, what did you think? And so her response is to get a little bit vulnerable. So she's like, my mom died 3 months ago, and the police officer gave us some magic, and this is all connected, and I need to figure it out, and your name is going to help me do it, and I'm going to do it. So you come along for the ride, but I'm not going to let you, we're not walking out of here without causing a scene.
I'm leaving here with something.
I'm leaving here with something. Channeled her Denzel. I'm leaving here with something. So Nick is like, oh shit, because now he was just ready to be like, I don't know who you think, you know what I mean? He was gonna have that pointer finger, I don't know what you think you playing with. And she brought out the my mama died,
damsel in distress,
and
I think,
not even damsel in distress, but it I think it really called back to his mom, and knowing what this order is capable of, and feeling like.
But he is also.
I am not able to / don't really want to dig deep into what happened with my mother, but I can't fault someone who does. I feel like that's what it is. It's
well, I think it's that, and I think it's also he knows what happened to his mom. We don't have to talk around it. It's so funny because I'm so used to we've been doing spoiler free for a while, so now it's wait, no. So his mom had she was mesmered, had her memory wiped, and was forced to leave him, basically. And
didn't she ask, or was that someone else whose parents asked?
That was Cell, I believe. I don't know if she asked, but it's I don't remember specifically.
I don't think she.
Actually, no. I'm thinking
mesmered, but it was a similar.
I'm thinking this is anime and manga. Fruits Basket. is a story about Chinese zodiac, and they are people. And one of the kids, his mom, because his dad is the one who carried the zodiac gene. His mom had no idea. So whenever she birthed a kid and they became a rabbit, his mom was like, "Nah, get it out. Like, I don't even want to remember. I don't even know. I don't know I got a kid. I don't want to know nothing. This thing can turn into a rabbit? Get me out of here." And
yeah, no, I don't think, like, even if his mom, like, did make the decision ultimately, it wasn't like it's not like she had
it was forced upon her. Like, she wanted to leave.
If there was a choice, it was like, you either do this or something more horrible.
Like, either you stay with this man, this awful man, Martin Davis, Nick's father, or you leave, and in order to leave, you have to give up
your memories.
You have to have your memory wiped, and you have to give up all contact with your kid. Like, you're not even going to know that you have a kid, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
but the thing is like, so Nick knows that, and knows that, like, if that's something that could happen to him, right? Scion of Arthur and, like, all of this stuff, like, of course, what do you think is going to happen to this black girl who knows nothing about this thing? She just got here. Like, and, you know, and I think as we go through these chapters, like, Bree starts to understand a little bit more of what the Merlins specifically do. And even Nick talks a little bit about the regents and, like, the sorts of decisions they make. And the danger of, like, having ether or being able to see ether or having a connection without being tied to one of these bloodlines. So he's when Bree says it, he's not like, oh, this is ridiculous, this could never happen. He's like, oh shit, like, it's 100% plausible, and he has his own baggage to go along with it.
And he's very disillusioned by the order too. And I feel like this is, like, something too that we were talking about with, like, props to Tracy for, like, setting up these love interests, but also kind of like two sides of the same coin, like Nick and Sel, where they're both skeptical. They're both, like, they're not
reluctantly involved.
Yeah, but they're also, like, they're not blind to the shit that the order will do, and they don't agree with all of it. But Sel kind of takes the mindset of, like, that's how it's done. It is what it is. Like, this is
sort of like falling in line with it.
He's like, if you can't join them, he's like, I can't fight them, so I'm gonna have to just go with it. Yeah,
and, like, these are the rules of the game, and, like, this is what I was meant to do, and, like, you know, he has a little bit more as a Merlin too. He's got, like, some demon blood, so, like, his basically, like, sanity is really tied to, like, playing along. And Nick is more like, I can't change it, but I don't have to be a part of it, right? Yeah. And so, like, Nick kind of goes with the, like, this is bullshit. It could be changed. I don't have the time, inclination, or the wherewithal to do the changing, even though I'm the Scion of Author or whatever, but, like, I'm just not going to participate. You're not going to use my face to, like, prop this shit up. And I think that that's really important, because I think that had Nick not been so disillusioned by the order, he wouldn't, if he was more bought in, first off, he wouldn't have given up or renounced his title or whatever, but he also would just very clearly be like, no, that didn't happen. You must have you're mistaken, whatever. But he's, like, honest with her, and it's like, yeah, like, I can't say for sure that that's what happened, but I can't say that they wouldn't. Like, it's very plausible, but that, you know, like, the Merlins had a hand in killing your mom. And so he decides, first he's like, we gotta go. We need to leave before everyone else arrives, especially Sel. So he's, like, also being like, you need to stay away from Sel. But then is like, okay. Well, and Bree is like, I'm leaving here with something. So he's like, okay, I don't know. And this is my favorite part. He gives her a little bit more background about the Order and Merlins. Merlins are trained from birth to hunt Shadowborns, which are the demons, the hellhounds, stuff like that. Sel is the most powerful Merlin in years, We learn a little bit more about the hierarchy of the order. So there's Legendborns, vassals, pages, lieges, viceroys, mage seneschals, and merlins. First off, bitch.
That's a lot to remember.
It's a lot.
Not only that, but it's so pretentious.
Like, yeah,
we're in America. Like, I'm not trying to be like xenophobic or whatever, but like, leave that shit in Wales.
I think like Tracy does a good job. Like, it's hard, I think, in this chapter to really understand like what's what and what these mean, but I think she does a good job of kind of like explaining it. Like, by the end, I understand like what at least most of these roles are or whatever. But in general, you could not ask me.
Oh no! Don't quiz me on this at all.
Do not ask me what a viceroy is.
Do not quiz me. I will fail. I do not know.
It's very hierarchical, right? But it's also very like self-important. Like, these things and these roles mean a lot because these people have decided that they mean a lot. So the regents have functional control, and they seem to be like the adults in the situation. But Legendborns are younger, but have basically the power, the real, like, kind of the real power. Like, he says regents are oath-bound to comply with the Legendborn's demands. We see in, like, Bloodmarked and stuff like that, like, this is true, but regents also are very manipulative and also have tried to figure out ways in which to, like, lead the Legendborns into doing what they want. By a lot of lies, a lot of propaganda, and a lot of like just strongholding and shit like that. So it's technically true, but it's not really how that actually works. Nick has renounced his title, but now Bree has put him on the spot. He's like, shit. So Bree's like, why did Sarah think you were my sponsor? Nick's eyes widen, a glint of fear in their depths. It's the first week of school. Are they recruiting? Nick says no. And he's like, listen to me. I've been around the order my entire life, and I've never heard of anyone like you. An unoathed once-born who can see ether and voluntarily resist mesmer. The code of secrecy's greatest weapon. He's like, you in danger, girl. Like, there is an army dedicated to enforcing order law, and Sel's one of the most powerful Merlins in years. If it gets out, he's failing at his post here. It's his head and future on the line. He'll report you to the regents himself, and if the regents put you on trial, confirm what you can do, they will disappear you. Like, he's trying to, like, scare the shit out of Bree.
Serious.
But it's also true.
She's just walking up to the lodge like shit's sweet, and these people are, like, scary. Like,
yeah. He's like, they will
I cannot
explain you.
I cannot explain with any greater urgency how utterly effed you are if this goes wrong.
Yeah. Like, and then this is where, like, again, Bayana's about to say, I love it. And I am just like, girl, the audacity. You've been around these white folks for 2 days! And you have just...
And you know what? To be fair, I will give this. That's the only way to go about it. If you're going into a new environment with a lot of elitist white folk, either you go in and you gauge it, you slowly immerse yourself in a pool and get used to what's going on and then figure out your steps from there, or you just jump in. And Bree just chose she was going to jump in. And does that usually go well when people just jump into things? Not most of the time. And we'll see how it goes for Bree.
This is possibly my favorite, like, literally, I think my jaw dropped. I don't know if my jaw dropped the first time I read it, but this time, getting ready to record, reading this, whatever what Bree's about to say, reading this, I was literally like, huh? She says, the timing is perfect. All I have to do is go out there and confirm what Sarah already thinks she knows, and then I'll join and become Legendborn. Easy peasy.
Oh no, easy peasy is crazy.
He has just listed the ways in which this order has been formed, the hierarchies, the bloodlines, the importance. He just said they will disappear you, girl.
She said
he
light
said
work.
If they find out that Sel is not doing his job right, if they find out that you have the ability to resist Mesmer, which is like their end all be all to control this shit. Sel's life is on the line. My life is on the line. You already dead. You been dead because you a black girl. And she said, I'll join. I'll become a Legendborn.
She said this out loud. She said this out loud.
She said it out loud. That's the funniest part about this. Like, you just know Nick is like, who the fuck is this girl? Like,
he's like,
why
me?
Like, how did I get here?
The jig is up. It's about to. We're gonna get caught.
Incredulously. I'm so sorry because I know that we're trying to like just hit the talking points and move on. I have to read this like line in total because it's wild. Nick is like, that right there is proof that you have no idea what you're talking about. I was born into my title, but you're an outsider. And if I bring you in, you'll only be a page. You'd have to compete against all other pages to become a Legendborn. The tournament lasts months, and all of it is rigged. He says this, like it is not designed for you.
The odds are not in your favor.
It is a setup to favor certain families and certain kids. And she's like, kids like you. At least she says, I'm drunk on the idea now because yes, bitch, you were reckless. She said, your ancestors founded the damn order. You're the textbook definition of the legacy. He is. You're black ass. But you.
But also, she is though, because her founders, the founders are also her family, and she's also prepared power-wise.
She does not know that. She don't
know it. None of us know
that. Nick does not know that. Nick knows that visually I am looking at a black girl, a reckless ass, a careless ass black girl, and they do not give a fuck. I don't care how cute you are. You cute to me. You know, them curls be popping to me. But these old white folk.
No, it's honestly crazy.
And then he tells her again, a legacy I rejected. They're not trying to, like, I am not on the good side. I'm not the golden boy anymore. I am a black sheep. I said fuck you and your order and your rules. And you're coming in under me. Like, now they get to get me back in the order and put me in my place through you, who they do not care about. And she's like, I don't know, it sounded like a plan. It sounded like a...
It's all coming together.
It's just sounded like a 1, 2, 3, here we go. Winner, chicken dinner.
I love Bree's like, you have not, she, like, nothing that Nick has said there has deterred her in any form of faction, but I feel like it's like, her mind was made up as soon as she figured out that he knew the order, like he's part of the order. She's like, oh, that's it. Like, she's like, nothing will bring her down. As soon as she saw
his ancestor and his daddy in a prominent position on that gallery wall, she said, we're in here. I picked the right one. I got it. So he is just staring at her dumbfounded. Like, I don't know how many other ways I can say that they will kill you.
Right.
And don't care who they kill on their way to killing you. And then they both jump open. She, like, a tan boy in a dress shirt walks into the room. His cool gaze lands on her for a second and then goes back to Nick. Nick's eyes never leave Bree's face. And then he just takes a breath and says, yep, fits. She's my page. Figure it's about time to reclaim my title. Because now there are people, like, they're having this fight in the salon. Meanwhile, Sar, is knocking on doors like, he back. We got him. Got him. You know what I mean? He brought a black girl, but he in the building. So he's like, okay. And that's how this chapter ends, but easy peasy.
It's just very, easy peasy is really...
She used white vernacular really English. White American vernacular English.
She did.
To put this man in a corner. I'm sick. Again, I'm not even mad, I'm impressed, but I'm also a little bit mad.
That honestly probably is the cred in Nick's incredulousnlike is like he's like because she didn't say like bet on it. No, she said easy peasy. He's like Easy peasy. That's the wrong context for this. Is the exact wrong context for easy peasy. Just like this is the exact wrong context for you to decide to be in here. You're exactly the person that's not supposed to be here. What are you doing?
He's like, I don't know how else and how many other words I can say. This is not the move. Like, this is not a, oop, okay, that didn't work out. Let's just pretend this never happened. Like, they will kill you. And they will kill others. They will disappear you.
And they will get away with it because we are connected on all levels. Like, you will be disappeared and no one will say anything.
No one.
And she said, I actually.
She's like,
sounds
no.
cute to me.
I'm good. I'm good.
You sign off. I'll become a Legendborn. Easy peasy. I'm sick. I am distraught. I'm verklempt. Okay?
No. Hilarious.
And now we're in part 2.
That's I was like, that's the end of part 1. Wizard Team is back for a new season, and with that comes a few changes. The one we're most excited about, other than reading Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, is that the Patreon chat is back. Support our work by becoming a B&C baddie at any tier, and you'll be able to watch us record live weekly, have your thoughts included on the podcast, and interact with other baddies. Go to patreon.com/blacknerdscreate to join. Now we're in part 2, chapter 10. Fitz is like, oh, for real, you back? He's like, whoop, he's running, he's trying to, he's running circles. He's excited. So Nick claims Bree is his page. He gives her his necklace. So it's like, it has this like thing. It's this
coin.
It's on it's the coin. It's on the cover. It's on the top of all the chapters.
It's the O in Legendborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bree is like, what's with these coins? She don't know shit.
She is Jon
He
Snow
gave
to
the
the
hottest
bullshit.
He gave the
Jon
hottest
Snow.
chick in the game his Shane. That's what he did.
Like, it's really like, it's just funny. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know why. Like, usually, like, reading it, other times I've read it, I've been stressed out. But this time, I'm like, no, this is just hilarious because you really just don't know what you're walking into.
Knowing what happens to her by the end of Bloodmarked and seeing how wild she started,
here,
it's like, you asked for this.
So did.
Like, you just boldly step yourself into this.
So did. And you know what's really funny is, like, in rereading this, I'm going back to all the times in Bloodmark where she was, like, in pain and stressed, does not want this. And I am like, see, bitch, this is what you like.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the consequences of my actions?
Like, when you don't plan ahead and you don't actually get information, then what happens to you?
Like,
I would
say that she probably, I don't know if she would get exactly where she was in Bloodmark. I think some of this stuff would probably have happened anyway, in terms of just like because she does have that magic in her or whatever, but not all of this. She could have, and also because like the gates are opening, so like folks are being awakened. Do you know what I mean? Like, if she wasn't, like, she would have gotten awakened regardless, and so it's only a matter of like what she knew beforehand and like how it happened. But also,
but I just also feel like if she would have done this a little bit in silence, actually did a stakeout, actually got Nick on her side without like just forcing them into this, like, into the spotlight. Like, Nick could have trained her, got her a little bit more,
the time is
like,
nigh because the ceremony's tonight, so
now.
they don't got time for that. They literally have no time for that.
But you're correct.
So,
like, she would have gotten pulled in. She wouldn't have been able to avoid all of this.
Avoid it, but some of it she might have been able
And
to.
she might have gotten... She makes some, like... I'm not going to say enemies. She does make some enemies, but she also... Like, first impressions really matter, right? She has some really bad first impressions here.
they make bad impressions themselves. And I also think that my main thing for Bree is that if she had come in another way, it would have been interesting if she would have actually come in with a community that her father was asking her to look for. Like if she had backup that are people outside of the order, because that's the main issue, is that she gets sucked into the order and she starts having to move like the order does, instead of having people who are like keeping her grounded at the same time, being like, nah, like they're on some BS. Like don't let all that wrap you up. Like be like keep your head straight. And she doesn't have that really, at least in this book, and she barely gets it, and it's not, you know what I mean, it's not sustainable in the way that like she's always in the face of someone in the order, and she needs more than that.
And I'm thinking about this now too, like if she would have found like the root magic, like thinking about like Mean Girls, where like she gets like where they send her into the heathers or plastics or whatever they're called, to infiltrate, but she I mean, and she does get wrapped up in it. I don't know how Mean Girls becomes part of this, but it does. She does get wrapped up in the plastics, and she kind of forgets where it all started from. But she, like, has people who knows what she's doing and knows what her ultimate goals are and can help her navigate through this stuff. She does so much of this on her own in Legendborn.
She's very isolated, which I think is like also in some ways like she did it to herself, and not in like a blaming way, but just like a
she's been self-isolating this whole time.
Like
I don't know. I kind of feel like the secrecy and stuff.
I guess maybe that's also her point of view as well. Is if she's like, I don't feel like being around people that I want to show up for. I want to be around people that I don't care how I respond. They respond to me because I don't care about them.
Yeah.
So she's like, if I'm inconveniencing rich white people, I do not care. Like she's just that's her brain.
Yeah. Okay, so they step out of the they meet Felicity and Russ, who are happy to see Nick. They seem pretty nice. But as they're like they step out and they're getting a lot of stares. And it's like half the room is looking at Nick, half the room looking at Bree. You know, everybody's like, oh my god, Nick's back, that's crazy. And then it's like, oh my god, who is this girl? Like, why is she here? How come she gets to be walking in with Nick? So it's like two very different what's the word, like attitudes and reactions towards them, but it's happening at the same time. Bree is feeling uncomfortable,
right, like as you should. Also, you just walked on up into these people's house. Put your feet on the couch. A full Rick James.
Again, she kind of did this to herself. She just, as she, like, and the thing
these
is,
are not
like,
your people.
Yeah, and so it's really funny because she's like getting uncomfortable about these stairs, and then like it says in the book that like she becomes irritated, but she's not irritated at the people staring at her. She gets irritated at Nick, and then it's like, but
he didn't want to be here,
ma'am. Like he told you not to do this,
and you notice he's also getting stared at too. You think he's happy? He didn't want to be
here. He does not.
Oh, you think he's happy to get stared at right now? Like,
so basically, she's kind of asking like, why are we getting all of these stares? And so Nick explains that there are these vassal families, and they're like they pledge themselves to one of the, I think it's 13 lines of like the Legendborn or whatever, and they do this so that their kids have this chance to like become Legendborn, essentially, like for power and all those things too, but then they also like pledge their kids to possibly become part of this line or whatever and gain this power. And they've been doing this, they put in their work or whatever, they do all that stuff for years, decades, generations, whatever, and then here comes Bree out of nowhere. So part of it is like, it looks like she's skipping the line, is I think what she says, because her family is not in this like secret society. And then there's the added bonus that she's Black. There are no other people of color in this room, so she's just out here with white people, and so there's like that added bonus of like, how did she get here?
They're looking at her like, oh, affirmative action coming to the order now.
Literally,
you've
not
gone too far
because she's not. Yeah. Right. How did this happen? We've gone too far.
They were like, I thought this was the place we came to not be woke. Apparently,
right.
I was wrong.
Exactly. I think another thing, or another part of that kind of explanation that Nick gives her is, and it comes up a little bit later as well, is like, and because it comes from Nick, and he's like very clearly very bitter about it, and it's the fact that like these Legendborn and like the pages who are going to be like competing to become squires for these scions are all kids. Like at a point we meet, like there's this senior named Craig who like comes up to Nick and is like trying to like, you know, ingratiate himself to Nick so that he has a better chance of becoming Nick's squire. But it's also his like last year of being able to pledge, and he's a senior in college. He's like, what, 21? After that, he can't do that anymore. So like there's this very like small window, and I guess it's 16 is the, which
yeah,
because I think it's also connected to early college. I think they were like, this is, you know, we wanted folks like Nick to be able to be there early. So it's like from between 16 and 21, you can become a Legendborn, but after that, you can't. And so again, it's like you're putting all of these kids in danger.
But also, I think Nick is annoyed because he's, again, what you're saying earlier, he's divested in like actually being part of like the system of the order, and he talks about how he's like the vassals and stuff are people who are like, they want to be part and parcel of like the system. They believe in the system.
Right.
They
and
are
they
like
want it though because they get
stakeholders
like power. They want to become
captains of industry and
like, super, you know, they just become these like.
But just as vassals, even just as vassals.
Yeah, like they get this like power and wealth and stuff from being a part of this, but they also don't participate in the actual war against the Shadowborn. And so for Nick, it's like, I think it's as he talks to Bree and like kind of gives her this like info dump, I guess, we can also see his opinions about it kind of coming through and just like how he says it. It's like these opportunists like kind of sacrificing their kids essentially for this. And you know, we kind of see like the up until now, it's not like, especially if they become squires for like higher what's the word, like
higher ranks
or whatever, I think they have less worries about whether they're sacrificing their kids because they're rarely awakened, but it's still the same thing, right? It's like in their heads, for the vassals, they're not thinking about war or like the danger of it, they're just thinking about what they can get from it. So it's just like we already from the beginning, you know, there's like the stuff when Nick was trying to dissuade Bree from doing this, like talking about like, you know, it's mad dangerous, you could get disappeared and all that, but then there's also like more subtle or like smaller parts of like this society and like the way that the system is set up that you can tell.
And I think too there's a matter of as and what he believes he's Arthur Scion. He's actually Lancelot Scion, but he kind of knows too, like all of these people are also, they're sucking up to me. They're not sucking up to like the, I guess, lower Legendborn. I don't even know if lower, but yeah, I guess it's like a hierarchy type thing as well. Lower ranked, because there is more danger there. Like, and so ranked. There's the, like, you get more glory being Arthur's like page or Nick's page with less. It's very like true to kind of our fucked up society. You get more glory and more prestige and power and more actual danger. Regents and vassals and people who have aged it out are fine with that.
Also, briefly going back to Bree pointing out that she's the only black person in this room, Nick has a moment where he's like, you know, let me know if anything happens or whatever, and I'll handle it. And Bree's very much like, sure, bro. Like,
sure, you're right.
Cool sentiment.
You are.
Sure, you will. Like, and I get
Sure.
it. Like, obviously, it's like what I think for a lot of reasons. For one, like, there's a level of I'm used to this, so like I can handle it better than like you could. Also, I don't think she completely understands yet like how much power he has in this situation. And they just met each other like yesterday, so she's not like gonna be relying on this like random white boy to like. Right.
And she's forced him here,
like,
so she's also probably like, you
like,
probably not going to advocate for me that hard.
But I don't really know you, so okay.
But also,
you know
like,
what I mean?
What do you want me to do with that? Like, just give you like,
be like,
thank
hey,
you, white
they
man.
did it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, bro, like it's not.
But I also like think, and it's all you know, it's like we're not gonna give him a bunch of credit for doing the bare minimum. But when you start to see like a lot of these kids and like the tours. Basically, it's like very impressive that he even has that impulse.
Yeah,
that
he doesn't notice it until she brings it up. But when she brings it up, he's not acting like he doesn't know what she's talking about.
Exactly. And the thing that I find like, again, it's the bare minimum, and I'm not like wow, but I do find like very interesting about it is that like, or something that I would love to like know more about too is like, how did he get to this point of like his father, the people that he grew up around who have treated him like the crown prince of whatever for forever. How did he get to the point where he's like,
I don't want this.
I see what you're saying. Not only I don't want this, but like when she's like, I'm the only black person here, or I'm the only person.
Yeah, but I just like, I feel like,
you know. Say black when you mean black, but also like there is not even we don't got no like light skin.
I feel like the thing is,
like, you know what I mean?
Or like I think her dad is Latino, but she like passes. You know what I mean?
I think my thing with Nick is like, how did he get to the place where he was like, I'm good, I'm out? Like, what if that has like for him to reject the golden boyness? That I think allowed him to be in a space where he could start be open to stuff. So I'm like, where?
And I think it was his mom. Like he didn't obviously leave right away.
Yeah,
but because he was like young when it happened. But
it opened his eyes to look around and start taking note of like what's wrong.
Dude, I don't know if Tracy talked about this, but it's kind of like the Harry. I don't go to the royals, don't at me, but like the Harry versus William type of thing where it's like the death of Princess Diana. Harry was still young, but was like, this is bullshit. Yeah. And kept it in his head.
I don't know that she's
you know what I mean?
Talked about that at all, but it's possible. There is like a parallel there for sure.
Yeah, but it's parallel. Yeah, just kind of like when I finally had the strength and the means to call it for what it is, like I did do that, but like it's really interesting. Like there's no one else that we meet who even in like the Lancelot line or who they think is the Lancelot line or what's the third one? Is that William? No. I don't know, girl. But in the upper echelons, we haven't seen anyone else be like as disillusioned, and it does definitely trace back to his mom, because that I think is what set that scene.
We have a couple of terms and conditions for like doing this. So for one, Bree has to come in pretending like she's never interacted with any of this stuff before, like Sel's mesmer work. Because again, if Sel finds out, this is bad. And then also the second one that is mentioned in this chapter is not bringing attention to herself, like not letting folks think that she's competition. There's like a problem with that one though,
she's
because she's going to bring attention to herself just off the strength of her being new and bringing Nick in here, and her being black, and like not, you know, like all the things they've already said about like how she doesn't have any connections in this space, no one knows her, like she's gonna bring attention to herself just by being there.
It's gonna be all
I also
Bree for a moment.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of this too is like he's like I'm gonna state for the record one more time, this is a bad idea. But we're doing this together, you and me, on my terms, agreed. And then she's like, what terms? And he goes, we literally just came up with this plan, Bree, give me a second. And I love that because he's like,
yeah,
we gonna need some ground rules. But I am also still in shock because I got a call 15 minutes ago.
And I think that's the other thing too is like, so there are moments where people mention things that Bree doesn't know. Or even like, so we meet Whitty and Greer, who are also great. Love them, honestly. Just, you know, spoiler heavy, love them. And Greer is like, asks Bree about what she, like, about her reaction when she found out about Arthur. And Bree's like, what about Arthur? You know what I mean? Like, she plays it off, but she, in her head, she's like, I don't know. And so, like, Nick didn't even have time to explain, like, what Scions actually are and which Scion he is. Like, didn't have time to do any of that. So, like, he's also, you know what I mean? Like, they're both coming into this with, like, so little preparation. It's honestly like, it's wild. It's really wild.
I was thinking about like how, like, what life would be like for Nick if he can like go back in time. Like, would he go back and be like, I'm just gonna tell this girl what the Legendborn is, like, now, like going back to the conversation in the classroom where he was like, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to be your mentor, and he like, let me just talk to her and tell her what's what. So she don't go up to the house, because like he knows she would go up to the house without him. If he would just be like, I gotta talk to her, I gotta let her know. But I'm saying, if he could go back in time, like knowing what he knows now, would he go in that class and he'd be like, all right, meet me after class, I'm gonna give you the lowdown. Don't go to the lodge. Don't do it. Like, I will help you. But I'm not gonna let you just walk up to the lodge by yourself. Like, I will help you.
Yeah. Again, this is only Bree's third day out here. It's really crazy. Like, it's just... And Nick is like, I don't even know this.
I am encouraged by her spunk and her determination, but like, it's not just her on the line. Like, I understand when you do something and you're like, because like I do that a lot. I'm like, if it's only gonna impact me, I don't care. I'm gonna do it. Right. But like,
it's more than you.
Yeah.
How did we get here? I'm not supposed to be here. That's Nick. I
think he'd still say we, because Bree is not supposed to be here either.
I tried the Scion thing for the last time.
It's wild. So
I do think though that, sorry, but like answering Portia's question, like knowing what he knows now,
he probably just wouldn't have volunteered to be her.
That also assumes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It also assumes that he would know who Bree is, and so I think when the dean called and said, "Do you want to be a knows that she knew." Like, nah.
But he knows that she knew about Self and Tor. So she, like, deduced from that she will follow them heifers and then get herself into the lodge and the way that she definitely should not, because then Self would know that she remembered, because how was she trying to track them down at the lodge if she didn't remember what happens between them? Like,
but also at this point too, I kind of feel like
but he's on like
likes Bree or finds her interesting, but would be like, bitch, I mean, that's the consequences of your action. It's above me now. Yeah. You did that. If you want to be reckless with yourself, like, go ahead. But, like, I think at this moment, he is like, how do I get out? I don't want to be here. Yeah. I feel so bad for Nick going, everyone's like, welcome back. I'm glad you're back.
He's like a person who, like, if he makes the decision, he's... Like, I think he had the I don't want to be here, what's going on stuff when they were still in their conversation. But I think once he made his decision, he's like, all right, we're doing this. Or whatever. Here we go. But like,
yeah. But you have to think that it stings a little bit to put a smile on your face.
He's definitely not okay with it, but I think he's
changed
just
your
like,
mind.
He's not. You know, when you just like have made the decision and you're like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's regretting it anymore, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? But he's still definitely like, nah, I hate all y'all. Like, okay, so then all the new pages. So there's like 5 new pages. They're taken on a tour of the lodge. We get to the library. It's kind of like a museum. It feels like there's books, but there's also like these portraits and special objects and stuff. And so Bree notices these manacles that are like displayed. They're the manacles of Merlin Jackson. So we find out that Merlins can like use physical objects to create like things for like with ether, but so we find out that like Merlins can use like physical objects to ether, or like, you know what I mean, use as tools, but more powerful Merlins don't need like physical objects. They can just make them from ether. And so it's another like mention of how Cell is one of the more powerful Merlins. But in terms of like seeing the manacles, it's a moment where Bree realizes that, because they say they were used during the Salem witch trials, so it's a moment when Bree realizes that like the Order and like Merlin specifically don't just hunt demons, they also hunt people, specifically other people who have ether or magic. They basically they control that. They feel like if you're not a part of the Order, if you're not within like their society and sphere or whatever, and are gifted or use ether within their parameters, bounds, that it's then illegal and you need to be eliminated, essentially. They don't really differentiate between other people who use ether and the Shadowborn, which is something that comes up a lot more in Bloodmarked, obviously, but also just reinforces what Nick was saying in the last chapter about like, if they find out what you can do, like you're gonna be out of here, endangered. So yeah,
it's also really interesting because we kind of get this in a lot of fantasy of like who is the keeper of magic, or what like true magic is, or things like that. It's I don't want to say it's a trope. Maybe it's a trope, but like it's a common theme. Like I just read like a cozy fantasy where it's like witches have these 4 elements, but then there are these like other witches whose powers are a little bit more specialized, and then they call them deficient witches, or like as if, you know, and even with like mutants and, you know, like in Marvel and stuff like that, like whose powers are pure or meant to be. It's a very colonial mindset, very colonistic. We decide what is civilized, we decide what is correct. And it's interesting to think about, because if you as a Legendborn have the power to see ether, you guys created these rules and standards and roles and stuff like that. Like those, everything is made up. Everything is made up in the world. You made up this structure. It wasn't divine, right? Or something like that. You know what I mean? And the fact that people can see or use ether without being a part of the structure kind of proves the point that this is like, if it works for you, great, but like it is not the natural way of things, because you were hunting down people who are minding their business but able to use magic or ether, or however you want to say it, or whatever you want to classify it as. And so it's a very interesting thing that Nick has tried to tell Bree before, when they were in the lodge or in the salon, about like the kind of danger she is in with this group of people in the Order and this power that she has, and then it not really clicking until Bree sees these like these manacles, which also obviously in Carolina, as a black woman in this manor house while surrounded by a bunch of white folks, also kind of evokes slavery,
which is why she literally she sees them and she goes, what the hell are those?
Her knee-jerk reaction was to pick it up and like, or to like bring it up, and she didn't even like have time to like look at the plaque or whatever describing it. That was her knee-jerk reaction was, what the F is this?
Right. And so and that is kind of when she's like, oh shit, I might need a little bit of teacher. Right. Again,
easy
Bree,
peasy,
child, sweetie, easy peasy. Easy peasy.
Speaking of the order and its structures, we have the chapter 11, and Bree is getting more, because in this tour they're getting more info about what is expected of them, and as she's looking around, she's sizing up the competition. She's noticing that a good chunk of the people who are candidates to become pages are all like muscle bound and like have either they're like buff and like muscly athletic, or they're like the gymnast acrobatic looking kind of athletic. And she's like, oh, they've been training.
Again, Nick
I'm just walking in here.
Literally said this.
Like everything that Nick, she was just like, nah, man, I figured out the plan.
Easy.
And now it's like
peasy.
being put in her face. Easy peasy. That's the title of the episode. Easy motherfucking peasy.
Oh my god.
And not only is she's scoping out her competition, and it's like, I'm trying to remember, there's a number that's tossed out for how many people there are who are competing this year. I think it's maybe 8 is what's in my brain. But there's these people who are competing. She's sizing them up. Not only are they all like athletic, and like trained athletic, there's only 3 spots open, and the third spot only opened.
There's a lot more, but there's 5 new pages.
3 spots open for Scions. Yeah. Yes. But there's only 3 spots open to page for Scion.
Or I think it's to become a squire, yeah.
Okay. And the third spot only opened because Nick is part of the thing.
Showed up.
Because she made Nick come up in here. If Nick were not there would only be 2 spots for all these trained people. So she's got a lot to contend with in this whole easy peasy competition game.
It also very much gives me Hunger Games, where like the first 2 districts have more resources and are just like ready to go, and then here comes Katniss like, I can sling this bow and arrow. And like ends up being the skill that she needs to like do what she got to do, right? Like Bree's ability to see ether and harness it, kind of. She doesn't really know all that she can do, but it ends up saving her ass a lot. Even though she can't control it, she doesn't have the training to do that yet. She has a leg up on them because it's something that's kind of like innate in her, and you know, plot and chosen one and all that shit, and then also actually being Arthur Scion. But it's just like, girl. And I guess it's like, okay, she's 16. Her medulla oblongata is not oblongata-ing. She does not understand long-term consequences. She's not thinking long-term. She's thinking very much in the now. Her whole goddamn plan is being planned 5 minutes ahead of each other. Like, we're not talking about like a day at a time. It's literally like a 5. She about 30 seconds ahead of the world. There's just as much time she has to pivot, to come up with a new direction or a new plan. But it is very funny that she's sizing them up, and she's seeing like how strong this competition is and how few spots that she has, and that's all that she has. So desperation is going to lead her through a lot, but like literally her whole plan, her whole easy peasy plan is become a Legendborn and then get the knowledge. And now she's like, oh wait, so you're saying it's not gonna be easy to become a Legendborn? She'll listen to that white boy when he was talking. Maybe we should have snuck out of here. Oops.
Yeah, and as she's observing the like competition, like she's slowly getting these tournament guidelines handed to her, like what's expected, just little dribbles of it, because what they're doing tonight is swearing an oath. But she's getting this information all again in this moment. And so she's still calculating, like there's 3 spots open for working directly with the scions. And these are the pages that different scions have brought up for candidacy. And she's like trying to figure out who's with who, what's going on, and the fact that like even if a scion brings a page candidate in, they don't necessarily have to work with that scion. They can work with whoever. But she's only barely getting dribbles. She's not doesn't even have this information yet. I'm probably putting stuff in here that I know because I've read it already. But she is getting more insight on the fact that Nick, his line ranks higher than some of the other ranks, and like you mentioned, Craig is trying to make inroads with him on that, and he like is looking at her a certain kind of way when it comes to this like whole like torn exercise. And so whenever Tor comes out and she is a scion, she is like today is she's talking about the whole process, she's talking about the oath or whatever, and then she spots Bree. Her eyes widen when she spots Nick's sigil, and then she continues to like work through it and says like if the oath finds you worthy, you will be officially become a member of the Southern chapter, and you'll be granted sight, the ability to see Aether, which Bree can already do. If you're not worthy, you'll be mesmered and cast out. In the meantime, not a word until the ceremony. Follow me. And then she says this backhanded. There are let's see. Whenever she's asked how many patrons there, she says there are 3. This will be and then thanks to Nick, the chapter makes history in more ways than one, because not only will he claim his scion title, but this is the year that Pages is a record to have 3 squire positions open, and she gestures openly in Bree's direction with a pleased smile on her face. The year our chapter welcomes its most diverse page class.
Like, girl, shut up.
Bree is the only Black woman.
When she walks in, she immediately clocks Bree and is like, in her head, she has something to say. Like, you can see in her head that she's like trying to figure out what shade she's gonna throw. Because it's like.
But also, Bree was like, it was like as if she was trying to place her. So I think Bree takes it as like, oh, she's trying to remember like where does she know me from, like out in the woods.
But I think it's, but I think it's that, and I think it's like, what is she doing here? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she recognizes Bree from the quarry. I think she's just like, that's weird. You know what I mean?
I feel like what I got was like Tor looked at her and was like, how do I shade her by making sure she knows that she is not a part of us, which she knows, you know, like Bree's not stupid. She knows she's different and not, you know, one of you. Or do I try to, you know, bring attention to the fact that she's Black? And to me, it's always, when these things happen, like, the racism is so loud, but it's also so redundant.
But like, she chose to do both. Like, she chose to, by saying what she says, to put Bree in her place, so to speak, and to highlight her Blackness in a space where everybody's already clocked her Blackness. And the fact that she leads her own applause and then half of the room joins. So everybody's not even like everybody knows what she's doing. And she's like, look, I'm being nice. See, I'm clapping for myself. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, we all know you're being shady. And only half of the room is going to play along with your game right now because we can all feel the shade.
But also she's a scion, so
yeah.
Majority of the room
trying to get out.
There's only 3 spots. There's only 3 spots open.
I mean, whatever. So think about that too. Bree is the only Black person in this room, and this is the most diverse this class they've ever had.
I think that's the other thing too, is like it's like not a pat on the back. It's like, wow, one black person, that's crazy. But then also like come on. But then also like that's part of the shade, you know what I mean? Like it's another way to be like, yeah, you don't belong here. There's only one of like, it's not like she can look at somebody and like make eye contact. You know what I mean? She doesn't have anybody she can look at in that moment and be like, the fuck. Yeah. She's just there by herself.
And we do find out in like Bloodmarked when we see more of the I forget what they're called, but they like aged out.
You mean they were scions?
Like they were pages, but then
pages.
Squires,
no, they were
former Squires are the
ones.
Yeah,
I forget what their names are.
Squires are the Legendborn. Pages are just like part of the you know what I mean? They're just there to help out. They can try out to become squires, but they're not.
Okay, well they're the ones that are not scions, but they're their the squires. So the former squires, we meet some of them in Bloodmarked. One of them is black.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like
what I'm saying is, I think it's the point though. I think what she's saying is this is the most diverse class we've ever had, and so it's like a point to Bree to let her know that's like how deep her isolation is, like as like by understanding like there's no one else in the room, sure, but no other time in the history of time like that this order has been here have we ever had a black person or any like person of color that you could plainly see they were a person of color come through our ranks. You're the first. Gee, congratulations to you. That's what like the level of like play that is coming on here with Tor. And Bree rightfully is going through it because she's been singled out. This is the third comment she's had in less than 3 days. She's only been on campus for those amount of days, and has had a racist incident in every single one of them. And so she goes back to what her father calls a deep fatigue that is called by him a death by 1,000 cuts, because that's what microaggressions do. Is they are microaggressive, even if they're downright racism. They're just so many things you can take, and you're supposed to just take them with a straightforward face, because if you pop off and you're a black woman, then you're an angry black woman. Why did you get set off? I don't understand what the problem is. All I said was this. Why are you using that tone to talk back to me? I'm not using that tone. It becomes a whole thing. And so she knows that the only recourse she really has in this moment is to keep quiet. But it burns her because it's the third time she's had to keep quiet as someone has been racist to her in 3 days.
I think it's really brilliant. Like every single thing that Nick told her in an attempt to talk her out of this, she confronts within the hour. Like, and at the, like, it hasn't even started yet. We're still in the preamble. The actual ceremony hasn't really started. And she's been confronted with every single thing that he's warned her about. And to me, it really illustrates, like, how big of a challenge this is going to be. Because they are quick and upfront with, you do not belong here.
She is Kovu. They are thinking he is not one of us.
It's a banger.
It is a banger. It is like, it's a mean song, but it's a great song.
It's a banger.
It is disgrace. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So, and then the only person, and like Nick isn't there. So on his part, he's not there. But for him to be like, "Oh, I'll be for you if you need it," and then this happens for someone on his peer on his same level as him, because Scion, and the person that says something to her to, like, you know, kind of at least say that this was observed. One of the people who was probably in the half of the room that did not clap is Greer, who is the only trans person that we know of in this situation, and nudges Bree with their elbow and says, "That's messed up what she said." That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's messed up what she said. What do you say to that? What do you do with that? Like, I get it.
I think in the sense
get it.
Like, I think it's in the sense, like, I think for Bree is a little bit relieved, right? Because at least you're not sitting there like, am I the only person who caught that? You know what I mean? Like, in this situation, like, obviously if there's another black person there, there's a sense, there's like, you know, again, there's a way that we talk to each other in those situations where you don't actually,
or you hope we will, unless they're being like, I'm happy being in
some like other shit. But usually you can look at the other black person in the room and be like, you know, make a face, be like, cool, it's not just me, whatever. So I think y'all heard that, right?
Y'all see that
kind
shit?
Of thing.
It's not just me. I'm not taking that wrong,
where, like, Greer is white, you know what I mean? And they also like acknowledge that it's not the same, but I think also it's kind of like all they can kind of do at this point.
And I also, like, again, I want to like emphasize the power imbalance, like, in general, like, there's like multiple levels of power imbalance here, but Tor is a scion who I think is also looking for a page, right? So like, or a squire. So you're not wanting to anger or alienate yourself from Tor, because your whole purpose of being here, the things that your parents have fought and sacrificed for, all of this training and stuff is leading up to gaining Tor's favor, to squire for her. Hopefully you squire for Nick or someone less shitty, but like, you got 3 chances and that bitch is one of them. So like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, there's also like, there are, and not to excuse it, but it's an added complication, right? There are probably other people who clocked that and didn't clock it in a like, that's right, but clocked it in a that's fucked up, but like, don't have the bravery to even say in the small way that Greer did, like, that's messed up. Like,
but that's what's wrong with the white folk.
You know what I mean?
Like, to be completely clear.
No, it is.
Like,
it totally is.
The problem is that you see something happen. Okay, fine, you didn't clap. That's cute. But instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna tell it to Tor's face, no matter the consequences, like, girl, get out of here. F you for that. Don't be playing like that. Like, to get, like, actually get her at, and again, the way I said it, minimum. That's not even like like kind of confrontational, like, Tor, I can't believe you did that. But like, it's literally on some like, boo, lame, tomato, like, you know what I mean? You won't even do that.
Yeah, but I do think though, and this isn't this.
But I think that's a part of it though, is because they won't do that, and so then it's easier now. They're like, well, I already didn't step up in like the bare minimum way, so I can't step up at all now. And they're gonna keep not exactly. And I think that's purposeful. That's purposeful.
I can't step up at all. But I also think I was gonna say, I think there's also the like power dynamic too here, right? Like, does Greer, as the like only trans person in the room, feel like they can speak up in this place that like already
I'm not coming for Greer,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and also I
know
even if they weren't,
all the
but
white
it's like
folks who did not, they said half the room did not clap.
No,
where
exactly.
the other
but I'm
people?
saying but I'm also saying, even if it wasn't them, just like, there is this very clear hierarchy in the way that they like set this up. You know what I mean? I don't think she came in like, you know, I'm Victoria, whatever, like 3rd ranked. You know what I mean? Like, that's like,
clap for me.
Yeah.
Clap
so
for
it's I don't think that, again, it's not necessarily an excuse for folks who didn't speak up, but the place is not set up for that to be
and
welcome.
I'm saying, if you are a white person listening to
but I'm saying, especially in this situation where they're
to
trying to compete for these roles, you know what I mean?
I get what y'all are saying. I'm saying,
and I do think too that
what is the
alternative?
Part of that is, like, if this were to, if there was an alternative to this, what is the alternative? That's what I'm saying.
Alternative
response
one, but
to
I think
Tor saying crap like that.
See, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think there is one, and I think that is very purposeful. I think that a part of Tor's thought process is, I'm gonna do this now up front, and then the people are going to be confronted with how much they're about it. And immediately, they did the math and they weighed position and power over standing up for something that probably made them feel icky. And then it's very easy now to say, like, okay, well, if I didn't stand up that time, then I'm just going to be quiet. Like, maybe, and there is this thing that we see countless amount of times from white people who think that by not actively being hateful or actively doing something, that then they can claim ally, or they can claim that they're not one of them, when, you know, it's like, standing by and watching this shit happen, you might as well just be like in the mob as well. You are a part of it. You're upholding it by being
right.
quiet,
and I'm not saying that's like okay. I'm more saying that's the
and
point,
even
I guess
that's the point. Exactly. And that's what I think. That's what a part of what Tor wanted was to, at the very first day, at the very first time, you have the opportunity to stand up and say, like, that ain't right, or clap for the diversity and be like, welcome, Bree. Yeah. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, even like you saying, like, in the bare minimum of not confronting Tor explicitly, but like being, you know, malicious compliance of being like, yeah, we're diverse. Hopefully for more next year, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, in like a whatever way, they all chose not to do that. And now they've set themselves up for what kind of behavior they're going to allow.
I also think for those who didn't clap, some of them may not have, it might not be like, oh, I didn't clap because I don't agree with Tor. It could have been the opposite as well. You know what I mean?
Like so, boo diversity.
Exactly. Like who knows who actually was like thinking, oh, that's messed up, versus,
or who caught it. So people are like, sometimes you can be slow and not catch stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, who caught it. I want to add this one thing about Greer, is that I think that they also, like you said, like, it's kind of the bare minimum, and like, thanks. I obviously, you know, at least is affirming to Bree that she did understand what happened, or like that other people clocked what happened as well. But I also think that Greer is in the point where, yes, they are white, but I kind of have the sense that they are like, I'm probably not going to get chosen, but if I do get chosen, I'm going to get chosen by this one person. And that's it. Like, I'm going to get chosen by the person who sponsored me, and like, I know where they're at, and like, that's it. Because again, it goes for everything. Like, Tor is racist. What makes you think that she's not transphobic as well? You know? Or that she respects Greer's humanity a bit more than she respects Bree's, you know? Like, if you're both drowning, I guess I'll save Greer because they're white. Like, but if I had my way, you could both go, right? So I think there's also like, in the same way for Bree, it's like, I'm here to learn as much as possible. If I get chosen for a Legendborn, like, Nick will choose me, and it's just me and Nick together, and we're in it. It's the same thing with Greer. And so there is also a little bit more freedom in that, because, I mean, maybe they think that, like, they have a chance for Nick to choose them, because they don't really know Nick like that. Nick hasn't been around, but they know for a fact they're not going to be Tor Squire.
Come out of that crappy situation for them to kind of like have a discussion about what they can expect next, what the competition is going to look like, and before they even like explain what this, they don't even explain what the ceremony is. They just are escorted into a space, and then suddenly they get transported somewhere else. And there are 8 figures who are hidden behind some hoods.
No.
Which, again, you just went from racism into some people in black robes. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then their sight is taken away from them. Every single person who's a candidate loses their sight. And then together the figures start chanting one at a time. So yeah, there's just Emotionally, I would be not in a great space right then if I were Bree. I would not be Bree also because I would not be there. And then there's a complete endless black before the cinnamon smoke scent even reaches her nose, and Bree knows that Cell's mesmer has taken their side. So she knows that Cell's behind it, and she hears feet moving in the grass, and suddenly, slowly, people are getting taken away from around her, and then she hopes that someone's coming who is coming close to her is Nick, but she's not sure because she can't see, and it's dark, and she doesn't want to be touched, but she can't help it. So a hand wraps around her elbow, and it's a loose grip. But then they pull her forward and they start guiding her by her shoulders. And so this whole exercise for the oath ceremony is like a trust exercise. And they wandered through who knows what in debris, and then she has to go down some stairs. And again, it's like a trusting kind of building kind of exercise. And then finally,
I was gonna say that Nick would be really great. He's not beating the camp counselor allegations, I guess is what.
No, not at all. And then whenever they finally get to the bottom of the stairs, that's when Nick reveals that it's him, and then he starts explaining stuff to her. I didn't want to catch that.
I think we have to like remind you guys that she met Nick yesterday,
Yeah.
and they're doing a trust exercise, and she pulled him kicking and screaming into this.
Yes, I also want to catch that.
And they're doing a trust exercise.
I also think like
with people in robes.
There's also like
the
ceremony and like pomp and circumstance of this whole thing, and I'm just like imagining Nick having to put on this robe and being like, "What am I doing here?
I gotta do
like,
what?
I gotta figure out.
I gotta do
like it's
what?
like very dramatic for no reason."
Yeah, I want to catch that. Bree knows Cell's scent when he does magic, and she mentions like part of the reason why she's disoriented whenever they're going through the like sightless exercise is because she gets a mix of headiness from smelling Cell's magic, and also like the just like being all like over the place because of her senses being turned against her. And so I just have like it gave me deja vu, like Beyonce song Deja Vu. Like I can't be anywhere without feeling like you're there, because she's everywhere she goes and she sees magic. She's like, is that Cell? Like she's always Cell. Whenever magic is on the air, she's like it smells like Cell. And I just think it's funny that her nose is literally wide open for Cell's magic. So she and Nick start talking, and he asks her if she can see and to squeeze once or twice for like to give her an answer, and she answers that she cannot see. So she knows that so they both know that Cell's mesmer is like in place, and basically he's telling her to not resist the mesmer. And then he's starting telling her like the oaths are a living bond sealed by speech. Their words pull ether from the air, so the commitment becomes part of you. The oath of fealty will know if and when you intend to break it, but it works like a mesmer. So, and then he stops because who comes hurtling out of these dang trees?
Our little spider monkey.
But also, can we talk about how she just got here and it's how going to make oaths, capital O oaths too, not just like a regular like I pledge. You know what I mean? Like girl, what is happening? She look. I can't.
I
love it.
We've been through it. She chose this.
She chose this.
This is what she is. Now, why is someone rolling through these trees, coming up, ready to fight and tussle? He said, I came here to fight, I'm going to be honest.
No.
And Nick has no choice but to tussle with him. And, like, Cell is like, is he trying to fight Nick? No. Who is he trying to fight? Bree, who can't see.
She can't see.
Like he is not above fighting someone who he already has all the magic of a Merlin behind him. Then he's gonna add she can't see.
But when you figure out what Cell thinks, it kind of makes sense. I fight dirty too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, not
he wildin', but
for him because he wildin', but
If you think about like his thought process, and we have like
so
a bit of that with the extra story that Tracy put out, like he trying to save his man from a demon, like the demon.
Yeah.
So I'd fight dirty too. I mean, he ain't right because we know that Bree is innocent, and you know, but
he has not had any actual clues. He's just put a.
I think it's because it's the third time in 3 days, and she's now.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's. I get it though, because
he also does not.
She's had 3 races in 3 days. She's had 3 races in 3 days. Does that mean that the canvas is racist? Yes.
Yes.
Right. There's been 3 Brees in 3 days. Is she a demon? Perhaps. Like,
you done logic yourself into agreeing with Cell. Listen.
3 is a magic number. She could. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, bruv, like, you're coming in very, very heated, and you gotta meet the energy of the situation, and I just don't think you're getting, like, anyways. So, so again, mind you, this whole time we're getting this from Bree's point of view. So Bree she cannot see, but her senses are on 1,000 because she is able to, like, all the sequence that happens is her without seeing, telling us about, like, she's hearing their scuffle. She hears the clang of metal on metal and the whine of weapons grinding against each other. And then Nick shouts, "What are you doing?" And then Cell calls her a Shadowborn that he brought into their grounds, onto their sacred ceremony. And, like, they're just going back and forth. And a burning hot hand sizzles her ankle. And then there's a thud and grunt, and the fingers release. And then impossibly strong knuckles dig into her bicep, pain like daggers, and she screams. And then there's more flesh eating flesh, and then possibly a punch, and then the fingers let her go. And then there's labored breathing, and it's just Nick and her. And then he's basically just having to, like, explain that she is not a Shadowborn to Cell. And then he calls her an Echo, and
Uchel
is just like, no, because she describes it as a short I sound at the beginning and then a throaty sound from Locke. So, Nicole. Yeah. And yep. Funny how, so I just think it's funny that Cell is basically saying that Bree has enthralled Nick in the same way that all the witch hunts that we just thought about because of the manacles, how they accuse witches of enthralling men. That's what Cell is trying to say Bree has done to Nick. She is a nasty woman who has enthralled you.
Yeah. And this part, I will say this part definitely gives the love triangle is triangling.
Yeah.
And not just like a hinge, because he is like, you left me for a demon.
Like, that's the only explanation I can come up with, to be honest.
You have, like, you left me.
Like, you swore up and down to me and your family and the whole order that you would never show back up here, and then you show back up here with this demon. The demon brought you here. It's the demon.
You look. You leave my protection, and it only took a couple months for you to get swept up by demon. This is why you need me. That's why we belong together. You're not safe without me.
So
it's a triangle, y'all. There is no missing point.
Adding more to this triangle dynamic, Nick is going hard on, she is my page, mine with italics, okay? Mine. And he reminds someone that you swore an oath to serve, and then someone's like, oh, I am keeping my oath. And then what is someone's answer to a possible demon being in the vicinity of Nick? Cyclone. The demon's got to get run out of here. The sightless can't see the demon. If she's a demon, why isn't she fighting you back?
Right, at this
why
point.
is she sitting over here on the ground and you're about to pull a cyclone on her sightless butt? I don't understand. So, where
Nick said, "Earn me."
It's
messy.
Yeah.
The drama is melodrama-ing.
It is
It's
messy.
It's giving.
It is.
It's giving mess.
And the man is spinning a cyclone. A cyclone. And he has devolved from calling Bree by her pronouns, has called her it. It has enthralled you, Cell growls. Electricity arcs across Bree's nose and cheeks. The wind picks up as something crackles. Ozone enters the air. Nick is like, don't do it. And then, Selwyn! Here's the man's voice. And the cyclone suddenly dies. And then Bree picks up the sound of like footsteps and like a man who's okay. So when I first read this, I thought this man had a southern accent because we do the same stuff. Like we don't put G's on the end of words and stuff. But then I was like, oh, is he supposed to be like an authentic Welsh accent? And I'm a little torn by. I'm not sure
so, because his family has been around since they've been here since
they've been.
But
in
some
Carolina.
Some of the phrasing here, because they're rich enough to be living full time in Scotland if they wanted to, or have spent like his formative years there. Something that he said in phrasing.
I'm sure that they go to Wales because it's not Scotland. It's they're Welsh.
That's what it is. He says, I don't. Okay, this is after the confrontation part, but he's like, I don't know how or if you're responsible for my son's change of heart, but you are. So why? And like, that's not a Southern one. That ain't us. That's some Scottish stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll get there. That's why it turned to me. That's why I was like, whatever. She hears this man with this accent, unidentified currently, and Cell responds to him, my lord. So Bree catches the clues. That is Dr. Martin, Nick's father, and he's breaking up this love fest. He is very impressed by Nick being there. Notices Bree on the ground and actually is nice and asks, may I help you? And both Bree and Nick then help Bree up. Bree is introduced to him as Nick's page, and Dr. Davis inhales sharply, your page? And then she hears hope runs through his voice, and she can tell that there's something that shattered this family. She wonders what it is. But she gets words of gratefulness from his father, and he says that he is in her debt. She mumbles a quiet thank you, and then he wants an explanation behind why Cell was fighting with Nick. And Nick explains that Cell thought that he sensed the Shadowborn, but he's mistaken. And also we learn that Shadowborn don't even like go into Legendborn territory, like where Legendborn overrun a territory. Like they only go places where they know they have the ability to not be like run down by the Legendborn. So Cell coming out of here accusing her of a Shadowborn is like really just like really out of it. And then her Nick's father's like, here the Shadowborn have never been bold enough to open. Yeah. So he says, we rely on your senses to Selwyn, and ask, are your abilities becoming unpredictable, King's Mage? Which is a call to how King's Mages and Merlins have the affinity for going mad, apparently, like over time, with how the magic has a toll on them. And so this is like a clue here, because we don't really learn this until later, that he's like, anytime he wants to check Selwyn, he brings in his sanity.
Mm-hmm. And also just like it's the, again, we mostly see Cell like on an antagonistic level until like the end of this book, but
I think it also goes back to
kind of the, like,
Nick saying, like, the regents have functional control, but, like, the Legendborns actually are, like, if they have a demand, then that's what they have to follow, or they're oath bound to follow. But, like, with the understanding of, like, the regents are very manipulative, and, like, that functional control and, like, what they're complying with, and these are kids, and they're by nature kind of easily manipulated, especially when they grew up in this system, right? And we get there's an added layer for Cell, because his mother was deemed, like, lost her mind and whatever, and then disappeared. So, like, there's also this, like, you know, it's kind of like in your blood. You know what I mean? If it happened to the mom, it could happen to you. Like, you're more predisposed to losing it, which we find out later, like, isn't actually really true, but is a very easy way to control and manipulate Cell.
Yep. So we end the chapter with that being brought up, right? It showcases too, like, Cell ends up when Bree moves forward again, she can't see. She only hears 2 sets of footsteps with her, Nick's and his father's. Cell stands alone, and this is what this chapter overall is giving. Bree stands alone, like, she has one maybe ally who might stand up, might, like, at least like comfort her a little bit, but generally stands alone when it comes to the class of people who are, like, running for candidacy, because Nick is on his own as Scion and does not have the same issues that she's worried about, so is not in the same spaces and can't be there to, like, protect her when crap happens there. And Cell stands alone when it comes to, like, yeah, you might be the most powerful person, and, like, they kept, like, talking about how powerful he is as a Merlin of the ages. You might be the most powerful Merlin of any age, but we can check you at any moment we can by calling for your sanity. And so you stand alone as well, and he knows that. He's been known that, and it's probably part of the reason why he's so crabby. But, like, his crabby comes from, like actual legit, like, just, like, actual angst and anxiety, because, like, what can you do with that, right? So that, like, the isolation that they feel being who they are within the order is, like, very much, like, by design and reinforced by people who are in the order. And that's how we can see, like, Bree and him aligned in this chapter.
Good shit.
Yep. All right, let's get into MVP. Who's your MVP?
I'm gonna go first because I'm the only one that could say what needed to be said. Okay? And then I need y'all to stand by what you are doing here. I need you to stand 10 toes down in what you chose. I gave Nick my MVP because he literally gets pulled into this kicking and screaming, tries his damnedest to tell Bree everything that they're going to come up against, tell her the, like, magnitude of what they're fighting against and what the consequences can be. And then when he realizes he's not going to talk her out of it, doesn't just leave her hanging. Like, he is like, all right, well, I guess here we go. Because he could very well be like, y'all, I don't know what this lady is talking about. Apparently she can see ether. She can break mesmers. Go on ahead and do what y'all gotta do. I continue to renounce my title. I'm going back to early college. See ya when I see ya. Like, he could very well just throw her under the bus and keep going. But he does have a sense of honor. And even in that, like, what, like you had said earlier in this episode, Bayana, like, once he's made the decision, and then he's now like, all right, we're in this together. I'm on your side. I'll do what I can to lessen the impact of what we're about to do, or to at least, like, prepare you as much as I can for what's going to happen. And I'm going to be your ally. I'm going to stand up for you in whichever ways I can when I'm able to. And so, you know, I give it to Nick. Like, talk about rolling with the punches. Like, the boy, yeah. He just wanted to be a peer mentor. He just wanted to make sure that she, like, got through her first week of early college unscathed.
Yeah.
Just when he thought he was out, they pulled him back in again.
No, you're very right. You're very
And he did fight Cell when Cell was coming straight for Bree. He was like, no, not on my watch.
Yeah, 10 toes down. 10 toes down for something that he
just got on board with.
Literally did not want.
Just got on board with.
And again, yes, he's on board, but under duress. Like, under the biggest duress.
Absolutely.
He's not even like, it's not even that, like, he's like, I fully understand and am bought in with your plight. Like, you want to take down the order, me too, fam. Like, his whole thing was like, I just want them to leave me alone.
I almost gave it to Nick. I was like, I might make Nick the MVP this time, because I don't know that there are any other sections that I'm like, Nick might win it. But
Nick.
I'm cool on that. I kind of want to give it, I'm honestly still in this wavering place where I'm like, I'm kind of over Bree, but I see what she did and how she rolled with it when she was in there. So I only have respect for, if you get yourself in the middle of something, being able to get your way out, and she's working on it. And so I have respect for that. But then the person that honestly got most of my sympathy this chapter, and just because I'm used to logistics and planning for events or whatever in my previous like roles as a person that I've had to take up, like Sarah like did that. Like they like learned about, like, Bree strode up to the door and Sarah was like, okay, now I have to decide how to pull in a whole new page and Scion portion, make that work for the opening ceremony, pull together the plans and everything to make sure that that is accommodated. Also be able to update everyone with information once these changes are implemented, and then get everything rolling tonight in the next 20 minutes, and then did it. And I have respect for that. As someone who's been on the logistics sides of things,
real.
I and then felt uncomfortable leaving Bree there without sustenance, and was trying to be a host while also trying to maintain logistics for an event that she just invited herself to. Like that, I have props for that. So honorable mention to Sarah. I don't know if she is my MVP or not. I just that's where I am in my MVP. That's where I landed.
That's real.
Yeah.
Bree's my MVP.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could not be me, but I admire it. It's entertaining.
You wild.
It's crazy. I don't. Yeah. It's very.
She's
wild,
here for a good time and not a long time.
You know, I'm like, you know what? Do what you got to do.
But is this what she had to do, though?
Yeah.
And is it how she had to do it?
Based on the limited information that she had, that's how she
could have got more information, though.
The information, based on the limited information she had, I would not have made the same choices. She said she was going on a stakeout.
Neither would I. I didn't say I would do it. I just said, go Bree. That's how I feel. Just like,
you support women's... You support women's rights in their wrongs.
Women stumbling through their spy mission.
Where is the stealth?
I'm saying.
And I love this for her. I mean, I don't, but like, I love it for me. How about I say that? It's very entertaining. Okay, who is binged? Tor, for me. For all the reasons we've discussed. He's the worst.
10 across the board. Tor she's got it. Like, she knows she got it.
Yeah.
I give Tor an honorable mention because she's the worst. She's the fucking worst. And this might be the only time. It literally is like, and I'm saying might be because even I kind of blacked out how wild Bree was in these chapters until I reread them this time. I was like, it was literally like I was reading it for the first time. I was like, girl did what? Girl said easy peasy? Oh, she just knocked on the door? Okay. So not even an honorable mention for Tor. Tor is sitting on the bench right next to her, but Bree, my girl, how dare you? If it has to be, because I know that Bayana likes us to choose one. If it has to be someone, it has to be Bree. And this is like, you have to plan better. You need a plan. You are going 10 toes down into a secret society that stretches back generations, centuries. And you are literally flying by the seat of your pants. I'm not saying like you needed to have a plan, a contingency plan, an emergency plan, a backup. She needed to
at
have
least
a plan.
have somebody who knows where you are.
No one knows.
At the very minimum, let someone know where you are.
No one.
Drop a
Tell
pin
Charlotte.
so someone knows
God's
where
sake.
you are.
She might have done that if Alice hadn't been tripping.
Alice was tripping, but then tell Charlotte.
Okay, but your father, somebody
Can't tell her daddy because her
gotta
daddy
know
would have been like,
something.
"It's time to go. It's time to go."
That would have immediately pulled her out. Been like,
Somebody gotta know something.
But
somebody gotta know something.
Leave a note for Alice. I know y'all not talking.
Yeah, leave a note.
If
you
I
don't want to
show
get like
up tonight, I did not go get drunk.
These are the coordinates to where I last was on my way to.
Ask for Nick Davis.
So either between there and here.
If you don't see me again, raise hell about a Selwyn Kane. I do not.
If I don't have any enemies on Earth, Cell is dead. Okay.
Okay.
If there's a crowd of people who hate me, then he's one. And if there's zero, then he's dead. That's what's going on.
Alice, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to like agree with me. I'm not asking for
or take up my charge when I die.
I'm not asking
Just
for
let the people inform the people who investigate
for this.
of my information. Let them know where I was.
If I do not show up, if you do not hear from me or see me, I need you to go to the dean and say Selwyn Kane did something to my girl. That's it. That's it. Go to class. You don't even have to skip class. You can go after class. You can go after dinner. You go when it's most convenient for you.
You can send a text. Just make sure that the message is received.
But I did not go.
Make sure they receive the message.
Just leave a note.
Yeah.
Leave a note.
Drop this as evidence.
No.
Leave my note as evidence.
Nick.
Give it to them.
Before you knocked on the door, send Nick a text message of your face at the door, like a selfie, like, hey, look where I'm at. Do something.
No, that would have been
her
so
touching
funny.
the ether and she just like sending a selfie to Nick, like
me at the lodge, just put it on your IG, girl. Like, just no.
I don't know if anyone listens does fan art, but I just really want like a fan art of Bree outside the lodge, like, hey, and it's like in their text thread, and he's like, Bree, what the fuck? I'm coming over now. Don't go inside.
Don't move.
Don't you knock that door. Don't you knock on that door.
I'll be right there. Let's talk about this, Bree.
Oh my god.
Come on.
That'd be hilarious.
And then to be like, what's a sponsor? What are these coins? Like, girl.
I'm just saying it worked for her.
And then be mad at him. But they're all looking at us.
It worked for
her.
They're
all looking at us.
It's working.
Bayana, it's working.
Her goal right now is to become a Legendborn. So
she doesn't even know
that wasn't her goal when she knocked on the door.
She doesn't even know she's on the road.
That wasn't her goal when she knocked on the door. That's her goal now.
But she's doing
she doesn't even know what Legendborn means. She's been hearing it tossed back and forth.
She don't know what
Scion is.
What does Arthur have to do with anything?
But
she's
on the road to meeting her goal. Whether it's a good goal, whether she should be on that road, whether she should have started on it. She decided that's where she wanted to go, and she's going there.
She don't know.
That's a success.
She don't even know. She don't even know what her goal is. Her goal is a thing. She doesn't know what that thing is. She doesn't know what her goal is.
All I'm saying is
her goal is subject to change.
There. She's on the way there. The goal can change.
And you know what? That is the sentence she should have. Her goal is subject to change, because that is
and has changed numerous times.
So many.
Okay.
So yeah, we did say she's adaptable, so we gotta give that to her. I will say this. Okay, so I almost benched Stell because he deserves it. Why are you again? She is sightless, and you're gonna pull a cyclone out of your
because she's a demon.
A cyclone for someone who is not fighting you back.
My mama said we don't fuck with demons. I'm on Team Cell here. I'm sorry. Like, he might be wrong, but so is Bree. With the information, okay, if I am supposed to accept that Bree is doing the best she can with the information that she has, however much of that is assumptions
has no
or whatever.
Information.
Neither does Bree.
Has no information that tells him that Bree is anything but a teenage girl. Like, she has not exhibited any demon powers. So how does that equal demon?
I'm just saying.
Who has he killed? because he accused him of being a demon before.
I am just saying, if I am supposed to celebrate Bree for leaping after her assumptions, then I understand where Stella's coming from. He assumed and he acted accordingly.
I dislike all of
it. Okay. You're going to have to agree to disagree there, because she acting real demon-like to me.
On that note, thank you for listening. Join us next week. We'll be discussing chapters 12 through 14.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com or follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create.